Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Super excited for today's video because I'm going to be choosing my July TBR, but this is not just any July TBR. I'm actually going to be somewhat participating in a readathon throughout the month where I read books based off different prompts in preparation for the magical readathon, which will be in August. It's the autumn equinox, which basically is just like an autumn semester. And the whole point of the magical readathon is that I created a fictional character who attends this fictional university called Aurelium in this world called Eldia, and I have to read different books based on different prompts based on the career I want in this world and like my guild and like all this other stuff. It's a lot to explain, so I highly recommend checking out the channel that puts all this together called Book Roast. I'll leave it linked in the description if you're interested, because I will do a terrible job at explaining it. But basically I'll be participating in August for that autumn equinox readathon for Aurelium, but I wanted to create my own type of readathon to do in July because when this first started there was like actual in real-time readathons where people would read different prompts to create their character and like stuff like that to get like started into this world. And I unfortunately missed out on that because it was a couple of years ago, but I wanted to create my own version of that so that I can still kind of like participate of some sorts and just like get into it. So it was called the Gear Up readathon, and I'll be participating in that now in July before the August thing starts. So I created a journal spread where I have the guild I'm in, which is called House of the Arcane, and then I have all my different prompts, and I'm going to choose a book to read based off each of them. So I'm super excited, so let me go through the prompts one by one and then we'll start choosing the books. Okay, so I chose prompts based on the characterization of the character I made, which is basically just me, but you know, it was for fun, so I just made myself in like elf form. So the first one is for background, and I chose for my character to be a wildling, which basically means that they grew up in the like countryside and not like in the city. So the prompt for that is to read a book largely set in a forest or outside. And then for province, the world that Book Roast created called Eldia, I'll insert a map here, has different continents, and I chose for my character to be from Etheria, which is like, I think like a woodland continent, I'm pretty sure, with a bunch of ruins. And the prompt for that is to read a book that has fae or elven characters. For my heritage, obviously I chose to be elf, like I've said, and the prompt for that is moon or stars on the cover or in the title. My conduit, which is what my character is able to possess magic through when they're at Aurelium doing this studying. And based on your guild you get specific ones, but then there are some that like everybody gets. So my guild was House of the Arcane, and I got this through kind of like a sorting quiz that I took called the Novice Path, which got me to this point. And so I got chosen by the House of the Arcane based on the choices I made during that little quiz thing. So the conduit I was able to get through my guild was a crystal. The other one that I chose to try and aim to get from just like the regular list was a sword. And so for the crystal, the prompt is crystal word in title or series name, and sword is a blade on the cover. And then for my legacy, which is something that is taught to my character through my guild and can like pass down like a tradition, is a pocket dimension, which basically is like I can summon a interdimensional pocket and put stuff in it and like use it however I want. And so that is, the prompt for that is read an ebook. So I really wish all this was real. It was kind of silly explaining everything and like not being able to like really make you understand. Like you just kind of gotta roll with it. Like you gotta have that understanding. So it makes sense to me. I apologize if it doesn't really make sense to anyone else, but I basically just created my own prompts for this based off the character creation and then the sorting test I took. And so I'm going to read books based on these prompts that I have in preparation for the prompts I'll get in August. And so basically when August comes, I'll get to choose a calling, which is basically my magical career in this world. And based on what I choose, I'll have different, I guess, like classes I can take and different grades I need to receive. And that means different books for each of those grades I have to receive. I'll explain that a lot more in my August TBR, but for now we're just going to do this Gear Up readathon. So let's get started choosing the books. So the first prompt is read a book largely set in a forest or outside, and I feel like this is definitely going to be a hard like prompt to fulfill, not because it's like hard to find a book with this with these requirements, but I have so many options that I don't know what to pick. So I'm gonna go through my shelves and see what I've got on my physical TBR, because I'm also aiming to really get through my physical TBR during this month, just to like, you know, get some books off that list. I feel like there are definitely other options I could have gone for, but felt like pulled to choose this one just because it makes the most sense. Because if you're familiar with this series and this world, then you'll know that most of it takes place outside. Like, yes, they're inside, but like they're always on a journey or something. And this just gives me the most like fairy tale vibes, if that makes sense. So that is The Prisoner's Throne by Holly Black, which is the second book in the Stolen Heir duology, the follow-up to the Folk of the Air trilogy. And I read the Stolen Heir not too long ago, actually, and I thought it was okay. Like, I wasn't really obsessed with it as much as I thought I would be, and I felt like kind of disappointed, or more just like out of it. Like, I couldn't really focus when I read it. But the ending really got me on that book. I loved how it ended, so I'm super excited to get to this one. And honestly, I'm glad I'm not gonna put it off, because I was scared that since I wasn't like obsessed with the Stolen Heir, I wouldn't feel pulled to start The Prisoner's Throne for a while. So I feel like this is a good time too, just where it's still kind of fresh, but I'm not like so far away from it that I don't even remember what happened. So this will be the prompt for background, because it has a mainly like forest or outdoorsy setting. This prompt is read a book that has fae or elven characters, and once again I have plenty of options for this, but it's more so just what am I gonna choose. So let's look. So I have two options for this. Actually, I did consider choosing the Throne of Glass tandem read for this prompt, but that would technically be two books at the same time, and I really don't think I want to do that for a readathon, because I'd like to take my time reading those and just really like fully immerse myself back into that world, because after I finish the tandem read, there's one book left, and that kind of scares me because I'm just not ready to be done with Throne of Glass. So I won't be doing the tandem read. Not now, I keep saying I will, but the two options I have are The Lord of the Rings, and this is the like omnibus version of it, so this is all three books, but I'd be reading the first one, The Fellowship of the Ring, and I'm very familiar with the movie, but I can't say I've ever fully read the books at all. Like, I've read The Hobbit, but not these ones. So I don't really know if I'll read this physically or on audiobook. I feel like I'll most likely listen to it on audiobook, but I just really want to like say I've read it and just like know all the lore and everything that happens in these, so that way I can watch the movies and just like fully appreciate it more. So we have The Fellowship of the Ring as an option, and I also have House of Sky and Breath, Crescent City 1, and I'm nervous to pick this up too just because it's so big, but I tend to read Sarah J Maas books super quickly, so I feel like this would not be daunting at all, especially if I get past the first bit of exposition that people say really sucks. So I'm not too worried about like the size of this, but it does have fae, and I believe maybe elven characters, but I know definitely fae, and Lord of the Rings has elven characters. So I honestly don't know. I'd like to read both, but I don't want to do that to myself. So I think I might put these to the side and come back to it at the very end once I've gone through the rest of the books. I know that's probably cheating, but honestly, I'd be happy to read both of them, and I think I definitely could. But I want to see what else gets put on this list before I make a decision between these two humongous, amazing books. And then next, the prompt for my heritage as an elf is moon or stars on the cover or in the title, and I know I'll definitely have a bunch of options for this. Okay, so for this prompt I have three different options, and they're all pretty big books, so I'm glad I held off on my decision until the end, because this might end up being a really daunting and ambitious TBR, but we'll see. I have Blood and Moonlight by Erin Beatty, When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker, and Heavenly Bodies by Imani Ariu, and this is an indie fantasy romance. It deals with like celestial beings, gods and goddesses, and kind of, I think, astrology. I think that's worked into this fantasy, and I've heard a lot of great things about this, and I know it just got picked up to be traditionally published, so I'd like to read it before it releases traditionally, just to say I've read it before that happens. And you know, it is a bigger book, but the font is pretty big on the page, and I definitely think I'm gonna love this. So this is definitely a contender. And the Moon Hatch, this has gotten really popular recently, and I really don't know that much about it besides the fact that it's a fantasy romance and it includes a single dragon, and the cover for this is just gorgeous. Like, that is making me want to choose it all by itself. However, this is a very like dense, and like a lot of world building went into this, and I very much appreciate that. However, I just don't really know if I want to, you know, mentally devote my mind to that right now. Like, I know like Crescent City is dense and so is Lord of the Rings, but this is like brand new. Like, I kind of know things about both of those. I know nothing about this, so I'm kind of scared to choose this month. Blood and Moonlight, I don't know that much about. I think it's like a fantasy like murder mystery in this like magical city, and I really have no idea what this is about. The cover is beautiful, and I've had this for so long, so honestly I don't really know. But I think I'm definitely between Blood and Moonlight or Heavenly Bodies. Let's see. I've got The Prisoner's Throne already, and that's more of like a cozy, not really cozy, like all the people are still really cutthroat, but it's more of like warm to me. Like, I don't really know how to explain it. This kind of gives similar vibes. This gives completely different vibes. Like, I think it's set, it says, in a world ruled by the stars, cruel and merciless gods that watch over the world, Alara has been cursed by fate. And this feels like a lot more dramatic, like high stakes. Like, obviously there's high stakes in The Prisoner's Throne, but this feels like a lot more. So I think I'm actually going to choose Heavenly Bodies for this prompt, and I'm super excited about this one. Okay, so the next prompt is crystal word in the title or the series name, and I only have one option for this on my physical TBR, and I'm getting kind of worried because so far it's only fantasy. And that kind of stresses me out, but that's also my favorite genre, so I feel like it won't be too bad. But that is Of Jade and Dragons by Amber Chen, and this is actually an arc. It came out a little bit ago, and I didn't read it before it came out, so I'd like to, you know, sometime soon after. And all I know is that this is kind of similar to Mulan. It follows an 18-year-old girl who dreams of becoming a world-class engineer like her father, but after his sudden murder, her life falls apart. So it feels like also like a revenge story in a way, or kind of like a mystery of some sorts. And the text is pretty big, so hopefully that will help, but worst case, I can try and get this on audiobook if it's stressing me out, or I could just find another book with the prompts to fulfill this. Honestly, I haven't been that pulled to read this. I would like to, that way I can get it off my physical TBR, but I haven't been as pulled to this as I have to the other books I've mentioned so far. So if I put this down, or if I just choose something else, I will not be too upset because I'm not as attached to it. I don't want to say that and like, you know, make that an excuse, but I also want to get that out of the way so I can allow myself to, like, you know, DNF it if I'm not enjoying it, really, because I haven't heard anything about it and I'm just like, I don't know how I'll feel. But yeah, this will fulfill the prompt for the conduit for the crystal. Okay, so for the conduit prompt for the sword, the prompt is blade on the cover. So I have a couple options, and really it's a toss-up because I'd love to read all of these, but there's one I'm really leaning towards. But I have Sky in the Deep by Adrienne Young, and I think this follows a Viking girl, and I believe it's like a revenge story, but it's a fantasy. And then I have These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong, and I still can't believe I haven't read this because I've had it on my shelf for years, and you know, it's super popular and there's so many more books like in this world now that she's written, but there is a blade on the cover and also under the dust jacket. And it is so beautiful, so that really makes me want to read this even more because I've heard such great things about this series. But then I also have Dune, which has this tiny little sword right here on the cover. And I've actually been reading this since like April, and I haven't finished it yet, but I've only read 200 pages, and I think I have about like 300 or 400 left. And it's a pretty big book. There's a lot that happens, and it's very, very tense, but I think I could count this as this prompt because I haven't read that much of it. Like, I'm only just a little bit into it, and I still have a great chunk of the book left, and I'd love to finish this. Like, I've been reading it for so long, I honestly just want to put it on this list to get it over with, and it does count for the prompt. So I think I could include it, and honestly I think I'm going to. I was kind of looking forward to reading these Violent Delights, but with the amount of fantasy I have on this list already, I don't think I would have, you know, gotten to it or anything. So this will have to wait, and so will Sky in the Deep, because Dune is going to fulfill the Blade on the cover prompt. Okay, and we are at the last prompt, which is so exciting, but that prompt is to read an ebook, which honestly makes things a lot easier because I can choose a different genre. I don't have to choose a like fantasy or anything. I can go through my library and see what I have. So let me find my phone and then we'll figure this out. Okay, so to fulfill the ebook prompt, I actually think I'm going to get something from the library because I looked through my Kindle books and I was interested in a lot of them, but a majority of them are fantasy and I don't want to add any more fantasy to this list because it is packed full. But the book I'm going to choose is actually Saga. I believe Brian K. Vaughan, which is a graphic novel, and this is a sci-fi. And this I think is honestly kind of a cop-out. Like, it's a graphic novel, I'll read it really quickly, and I would hate to read it online, but you know, to fill the prompt I have to. So I'm going to choose Saga for that prompt because I'll guarantee I can read it, and although it is sci-fi, it is a bit different. So I'm really interested in that series, and I think it'll be a really fun read and hopefully entertaining. And yeah, I just know I'll definitely get through that one, and honestly I'm kind of scared because this is really ambitious and like a lot of dense fantasy books I'm gonna have to get through this month. Let me go through and choose which of these I want to read to fulfill the province prompt. So as much as I really want to read House of Earth and Blood, I think I'm actually going to go with The Fellowship of the Ring because I really want to listen to this on audiobook because they're so good and I feel like it'll go a lot faster, and I need to have an audiobook to listen to in the background of things. So I think I'm going to choose Fellowship of the Ring for this last prompt. Setting this up is really terrifying because they're such big books, but I'm so excited to get through this TBR this month in July, and I really think I'll have a good time with all of these. Obviously, I'll be kind of upset if I don't read all of them because I wanted to complete every challenge for this readathon, but I won't be, you know, I'm gonna try not to pressure myself too much because really the main event is the autumn equinox in August, and I'm really excited for that, and I hope it works out with my school schedule and everything. But yeah, I just thought I'd participate, and I'm super happy with all the books that I've chosen, and hopefully I love all of them. I really hope I do. That is all I have for this video. I hope you enjoyed watching me choose this, and I apologize once again if you don't have a great understanding of what I'm actually doing this for. I hope I did a decent job, but I'll have those videos linked below if you are interested in checking out more about it. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'm excited to vlog this month for you all for all of these reads. So I hope you're having a great day or a great night, and I'll see you in my next video.